Welcome back to the Star Wars Platinum journey, where I'm on a quest to complete and 100% each Star Wars game that is available on PlayStation 5. In the last episode I took on Super Star Wars, which was a very frustrating experience. I'll leave a link to that video in the comments below if you haven't seen it already. But today we're moving on to Nightdive Studios' remaster of Star Wars Dark Forces, which originally launched on PC and PlayStation 1 back in 1995 and 1996. This is a first-person shooter which borrowed a lot of elements from id Software's Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. You can certainly feel that 90s FPS element just from a few shots of the game, like the use of 2D sprites in 3D environments. I did play this once on the original PlayStation, and it was just very archaic. It was sluggish, blurry, and quite dark. That might have been my monitor, that might have just been the PS1 version of the game, I'm not quite sure, but it really didn't feel that great to play, so I'm hoping this remaster is a big improvement. Now, looking over the trophy list, there doesn't seem to be many requirements beyond simply just beating the game. Maybe a few items to collect and bosses to defeat, but other than that, everything looks pretty story related. There are 30 trophies in total that I'll be collecting, and thankfully this game does come with a platinum, unlike Super Star Wars. As soon as we boot the game up, we are hit with the opening text scroll. Here we get introduced to our new Star Wars protagonist, Kyle Katarn, a rogue who was once worked with the Empire but has since defected to the Rebel Alliance. He is hired to steal the plans to the Death Star. From here we reach the main menu, and looking through the options, there is quite a lot to play around with here. You've got multiple control options, vibration sensitivity, the game even has a gyroscopic option for aiming, but I decided to leave this off. You can even customize your crosshair and play with the original graphics of the 90s. I decided to leave the default options on for those for now, and started my second Star Wars adventure. Dark Forces comes with 14 missions, each one starting with a briefing screen, breaking down your objectives and adding some narrative context to each mission. The first level takes place before the first Star Wars movie, and sees us infiltrate an Empire base and steal the plans to the Death Star. This was a nice simple first level, easing us into the mechanics and style of the game. The shooting feels old school, but no less satisfying, and the stage designs incorporated a lot of heights, moving structures and staircases, which were still pretty advanced for the mid-90s. It's also worth pointing out that Dark Forces was one of the very first FPS games that let you move your camera view up and down. Before this, you were just stuck to looking forward. Now, during this stage, I managed to collect my first 3 trophies. The first was for shooting one of the mouse droids, which drop battery packs for our flashlight. The second trophy was for grabbing the Death Star plans in the level. And the third trophy was for simply returning back to our ship and completing the first level. With the Death Star plans delivered to the rebels, the events of A New Hope play out, and the Empire are dealt a deadly blow to their operations. The rest of Dark Forces takes place post the Death Star's destruction, and sees Darth Vader aligning with Imperial General Mock, who rolls out his Dark Trooper project, which are sent to the rebel base on planet Talay to showcase their new levels of firepower and effectiveness. This is where my next mission takes place, as Kyle Katarn is rehired by the Rebel Alliance to help with the situation. In this level, I was tasked with restarting the hydroelectric power generator, in which doing so earned me my next trophy. This level, you can see the destruction left behind by the Dark Troopers. The rebel buildings are in rubble, there's bodies all over the ground. The level of detail is pretty fantastic considering the limitations that they had at the time. Now, just behind the generator is the first of our collectible trophies, this one for finding the infrared goggles. After some great shooting and working my way around the level, I eventually came upon the Dark Trooper evidence, earning my next trophy and ending the second level. In level 3, I was headed into the sewer system to search for an Imperial weapons engineer called Moff Rebus to tell me more about this Dark Trooper evidence. Simply entering the sewers earned me my 7th trophy. Now this sewer system had my first puzzle to work out. Flipping this switch had me go through a different sewer line, and I had to go through each one and rise the water level, which would take me to Moth Rebus. It was a lot of fun to work out, and getting flushed through the sewers was also pretty darn cool, and really different to the 2 stages before it. Once I had reached the arms dealer, I got my 8th trophy. Now level 4 was another awesome stage, again very different not just to look at, but also the way it was designed. I had to trek through this snowy mountain range before finding the secret Imperial base. It had another little puzzle element to it, as you had to decipher a code with which we needed a key. Getting the key earned me my 9th trophy. Now working out the correct code input wasn't too difficult, and then I had to align the walkways so that I could grab the Dark Trooper sample, which earned me my 10th trophy. Now I did get stuck in a door at one point as it closed whilst I was still trying to get past it, but luckily there is a respawn option in the pause menu which came in very handy here. All it does is it respawns you from your last safe spot that you were in. It felt like the developers knew something like this would happen as to its inclusion. Now moving on to mission 5, this was yet another really enjoyable level. It had this red filter, and it tasked me with placing an explosive charge at the heart of this Imperial drilling station, where they are mining the resources to make the Dark Troopers. Placing the charge earned me my 11th trophy. But it also unleashed the first boss battle against a Phase 1 Dark Trooper. These run over and try to slash at you, but I made easy work of it with the plasma cutter weapon that I obtained earlier in this stage, and that marked my 12th trophy. The only taxing part of Dark Forces so far was once you've completed the main objective of the stage, getting back to your ship is a bit tricky due to the game's labyrinthian levels. It wasn't quite so easy to retrace my steps every time, and getting completely lost was starting to become a recurrence. The next cutscene sees our rebel ally Crix Madine captured by the Empire, who have now hired bounty hunter Boba Fett to their side. Level 6 naturally has Kyle infiltrating a detention facility to rescue Madine. This is certainly where the 90s cryptic stage design started to emerge. This stage has different floors that you can access via 2 elevators. Now after clearing the floors, the only way to get to Madine's cell is to go through the ventilation shafts, but to get across I needed to position the elevators from outside the vents onto the correct floors. This was quite tricky to work out with the way that the stage is designed, and you're not even given a hint on how you have to do this. I had no choice but to resort to reading a guide for the stage, as I was completely dumbfounded. And I imagine back in the 90s, you most definitely would have had to purchase that physical guide. Once you get through the elevator shaft, you've then got to platform through the garbage disposal, which is alright, but this game can be a bit hit and miss with its jumping mechanics. Eventually I made it to Madine's cell, and rescuing him earned me my 13th trophy, but regardless, getting there was quite the struggle. Thankfully, Mission 7 was nice and brief. It just tasked me with planting a tracking device on a smuggler's spacecraft. This was a classic Doom-style level, finding different coloured keys to progress further into the stage and blasting away stormtroopers, which is always fun. It wasn't too tasking, and upon placing the tracker, I earned my 14th trophy. Mission 8 was another demolition stage, tasking us with placing 3 charges around the Dark Trooper construction facility. This mission wasn't too bad. I found the ice cleats down this drop, which was my next collectible trophy, and these made it easier to walk over the ice, stopping me from sliding. Once I was inside the facility, there was some shooting and platforming along this conveyor belt, which gave the stage its own personality. Dark Forces has been really great so far at making all of the levels feel somewhat different from each other in small ways. Once I planted the 3 charges, I then had a battle against the Phase 2 Dark Trooper, which now had a jetpack, thicker armour, and dealt a lot more damage. Thankfully I had the mortar launcher, which melted the Dark Trooper after a matter of seconds. Defeating the Phase 2 Dark Trooper earned me my 16th trophy. Now, upon escaping the level with the robotics facility exploding behind me, that was my 17th trophy as well in the bag. Next, Mission 9 had me on the hunt for an Imperial navigational card. This was another tricky level where it was profoundly easy to get lost due to the random feeling maze-like design of the stage. It's so easy to lose your bearings and completely miss tiny, tight corridors packed behind walls. Eventually, I did manage to make it to the navigation card, which unlocked me my 18th trophy. Unfortunately, at the end of this stage, we get captured by the criminal overlord, Jabba the Hutt. He takes away all of our weapons and gadgets, and at the start of Mission 10, I am dropped into a pit with Jabba's pet Kell Dragon. All we have to battle this with is our fists, and this fight is very one-sided. I lost around 3 lives with the Kell Dragon before finally dealing the killing blow. Defeating the dragon earned me my next boss trophy. From here it was time to escape Jabba's ship. This was a pretty linear stage compared to what has come before it, so it wasn't too difficult to navigate. Firstly, I found the rest of my gear, getting my weapons back, which earned me another trophy. Eventually I reached this grand cantina that is aboard his ship, featuring murals of Jabba and his company. In here is where a Neva card is located, and nabbing this also earned me a trophy. And a little further on, after battling a few more Gamorrean guards, I reached the cell where our pilot, Jan Ors, was being held, and with her we both escaped. And that also earned me my 22nd trophy, so that was 4 trophies during the Jabba level. Now Mission 11 was back to being a little complicated. Here we had to break into the Imperial City, the heart of the Empire, and decrypt the Neva card. It was a pretty hectic first area, but upon locating the Imperial building, that got me another trophy. Now, after blasting my way inside, this next section was a real brain teaser. The room we have to get into is in the centre, and the doorways that block the way are in 3 rings going around in a circle. But you can only open one door from one part of the ring. I might not have explained it the best there, but it's safe to say it took me a while to figure this one out. This puzzle I actually didn't mind though, because you can get through this without needing to consult a guide. It's like a puzzle box. Whereas the elevator stage from earlier truly was almost impossible without getting up the internet. Once I was into the 3rd layer, I used a Neva card which earned me my 24th trophy. Now it was time to escape. I rushed past most of the stormtroopers as I was running quite low on ammunition. Upon thinking that I was back at my ship, I got ambushed by Boba Fett, who was my next boss battle. Luckily, with the repeater at full capacity, he wasn't too much of a challenge. With Boba Fett defeated, I got my 25th trophy and the level was completed. Mission 12 was another tricky level. The layout of the stage is like a donut. You've got an outer path and an inner core. In the inner core you have to press these switches to get the pathway in the centre to rotate, and you'll use this to access the other areas. Making your way around the first time can be pretty difficult, but upon managing, I hijacked the smuggler's ship that I put a tracker on earlier, and I earn another trophy. Now I had to sneak aboard the cruiser called the Arkhammer, where the Dark Troopers are deployed from. This was another linear stage and features a battle against 3 Dark Troopers in a small arena. Thankfully I had the firepower to deal with them in quick succession. Afterwards I reached the cargo shuttle bay, which earned me my next trophy. Moving the cargo shuttle along was really fun, and then the level ends with me boarding it, taking me to the Arkhammer. Now I was onto the final level, to destroy the Arkhammer. This was another demolition style stage, and without a doubt the most challenging level in the whole game. The design is so cryptic, and there are a lot of Dark Troopers to battle. After a while I managed to figure out where I was meant to go, and upon placing the 3 demolition charges around the ship, I had my final boss, this time against General Mock, who was in the Phase 3 Dark Trooper armour. Like the rest of the boss battles, besides maybe the Kell Dragon, General Mock went down with ease. Upon defeating him, I earned my 28th trophy. Now just a little bit further, I turned this corner that led me to the really low detailed escape shuttle. I have no idea what was wrong with that model. At first I thought I reached an area that I wasn't even meant to go. But anyway, I jumped on board and escaped the arc hammer with it exploding behind us. And that's the Dark Trooper project destroyed and the 29th trophy earned. With all the trophies unlocked, that was my Star Wars Dark Forces Platinum and the game completed. In the end cutscene, Kyle Katarn gets his medal from Mon Mothma for his service, and the Empire is struck another deadly blow. But after completing the campaign, I still had yet to check out the Vault, which comes with some extra content. Here there is some pre-rendered images showcasing promotional material and model previews. The Phase 3 Dark Trooper armour looks really epic here. There's some drafts of unused cutscenes showing how they were made. There's a lot of early concept art images. It looked like Kyle Katarn was even going to get a cloak and a hat at one point, although I do prefer his rugged smuggler look that he has in the final game. Some of the early Dark Trooper designs also look like they would later inspire battle droids and super battle droids in the prequels. There are also some game development images providing more information on how the developers built some parts of the original game, and the best feature in the Vault is the playable The Avenger level. This was a promotional demo of the game that was cut from the final version as it was deemed too difficult by playtesters and the designers. But still cool to see it survive here, and playing it you can see some of the bits that would eventually be repurposed into the final game. Overall, Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster is one solid package that has an enjoyable campaign full of original trilogy cameos like Jabba, Boba and Mon Mothma, but also some great level variety, nice visuals and fun gunplay. Now, I wouldn't say it's perfect, as there are still some areas and parts of the game that I felt weren't very remastered, and more of a fault of the original is that some of the levels are really convoluted. But I still very much enjoyed this one. Getting the Platinum wasn't too difficult, and with a level select you can easily go straight to the stages if you miss the infrared goggles or the ice cleats. I'm going to give Dark Forces a B for Bravo. It wasn't quite one of the best Star Wars games that I've ever played, but it wasn't far off. Up next we will reach the Phantom Menace and the wave of video games that movie received. The first being pod racing. Thanks all for watching to the end of the video. If you have any suggestions for these 100% Platinum reviews, then let me know in the comments below. As always, take care and have a great day.
This is an unfortunate setback. The Force is strong with Katarn.